The letter arrived on a Tuesday, which was the first reason Noah Bell almost threw it away. Nothing important ever happened to him on Tuesdays. His life had settled into a predictable rhythm. Work, gym, sleep, repeat. No scandals, no tragedies, no mysteries. That was intentional. After what happened years ago, Noah had learned that the safest way to exist was quietly. The envelope had no return address, no stamp, just his name written neatly in block letters. Noah Bell. Not his full name, not his middle initial, just enough to be unmistakable. Inside was a single sheet of paper. You were present at an event that officially never happened. Your testimony was removed. Your memory was altered. This is your notice. At the bottom was an address and a time. 11:40 p.m. Thursday. Noah reread the letter 3 times, his pulse ticking up with each pass. He told himself it was a prank, a scam, someone fishing for a reaction. But his hands were already sweating, and he hated that his body seemed to recognize the threat before his mind could. He burned the letter that night, watched it curl into black ash in his sink. And still, on Thursday evening, he found himself driving toward the address without fully deciding to. The building sat at the edge of an industrial park that had never recovered from whatever economic collapse had hollowed it out years earlier. Warehouses with broken windows, empty loading docks, silence thick enough to feel intentional. The address led him to a structure that looked temporary, modular, gray, windowless, like it could be disassembled and removed overnight. A single door, a single camera above it. The camera tilted slightly as Noah approached. He stopped. For a moment, he had the overwhelming sensation that if he crossed the remaining distance, something irreversible would occur. Not danger exactly, more like acknowledgement. The door unlocked with a soft click. Inside, the hallway was narrow and brightly lit, stretching farther than the building's exterior should have allowed. The walls were bare except for a sequence of numbers stenciled near the ceiling, counting upward. Noah didn't know what they were counting. He walked anyway. At the end of the corridor was a room with a desk, a chair, and a man waiting calmly behind it. The man looked unremarkable in every way: average height, average build, neutral expression. He wore a badge with no name. "You're late," the man said. Noah checked his watch. "I'm early." The man smiled faintly. "That's common." "What is this place?" Noah asked. "A review site," the man replied, "for incidents that exceeded acceptable variance." Noah's stomach tightened. "I don't know what that means." "You will," the man said, and slid a folder across the desk. Noah hesitated before opening it. Inside were photographs, security footage, grainy, low resolution, but unmistakable. A crowd, police lights, smoke, and himself, younger, blood on his hands, staring at something on the ground just out of frame. His heart began to pound violently. "I don't remember this," Noah whispered. "No," the man agreed. "You don't." Noah flipped through the pages frantically. Each photo revealed a little more. Collapsed structure, emergency responders, a shape beneath a tarp. "How many people died?" Noah asked hoarsely. The man leaned back slightly. "Officially? 0. Noah looked up sharply. "Unofficially?" he asked. The man did not answer. Instead, he tapped the folder. "You were one of 27 witnesses," he said. "Only 3 of you remained coherent after the intervention." "Intervention?" Noah echoed. The lights flickered. For just a fraction of a second, Noah thought he saw movement behind the walls, shadows shifting where no shadows should be. "We don't erase events," the man continued calmly. "We redistribute them." Noah pushed back from the desk. "I'm leaving." The man nodded. "That is also common." The door behind Noah locked. Noah swallowed hard. "What happens now?" The man folded his hands. "Now," he said, "we determine whether you were supposed to remember. The wall behind the man slid open. Beyond it was a larger room filled with observation windows. Behind each window stood a person. Some stared blankly ahead. Some were crying. Some were arguing with unseen figures. And in one of the windows, Noah saw himself. Older, thinner, watching him with an expression that looked disturbingly like relief. Noah couldn't look away from the window. The man on the other side of the glass was unmistakably him. Same posture, same slight tilt of the head when concentrating, same scar near the collarbone he'd earned in a childhood accident. But this version of Noah looked worn down in a way that went beyond age. His eyes carried a weight Noah didn't recognize but somehow felt. The older Noah raised his hand slowly. Noah mirrored the motion without thinking. Their palms met the glass at the same moment. A low vibration rippled through the room, subtle but unmistakable, like the building acknowledging the contact. "That's not supposed to happen," the man behind the desk muttered. Noah turned sharply. "What isn't?" "Resonance," the man said, standing now, usually suppressed. The older Noah's lips moved soundlessly, forming words Noah couldn't hear. But something stirred in Noah's chest. A pressure, a familiarity that made his vision blur. "Don't let them reset you." The message wasn't heard. It was remembered. Noah staggered back from the glass, heart racing. "You said I was coherent after the intervention." "Yes," the man replied carefully. "More than most." "And him?" Noah gestured toward the window. "What is he?" The man hesitated, then sighed. "He's what remained when you stopped being useful." The words landed like a physical blow. "You're saying I was replaced?" "No," the man corrected. "You were released." The observation room lights dimmed slightly as another door slid open somewhere deeper in the facility. Footsteps echoed. Slow, measured, unhurried. "You see," the man continued, "some witnesses don't break cleanly. The memory doesn't shatter. It fractures. When that happens, we extract the portion that can't let go." Noah's throat tightened. "And you put it in a box." "We put it in a roll." The older Noah tapped twice on the glass, urgent now. Behind him, other figures stirred in their windows. Men and women of different ages, all with the same hollowed expression. Some noticed Noah watching. Some didn't. "What event?" Noah demanded. "What did I see?" The man's jaw tightened. "A structural failure." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one you're cleared for." The floor hummed faintly beneath them. "That night," the man went on, "a system designed to remain theoretical failed under real-world conditions. A convergence of variables we didn't anticipate." Noah felt something loosen in his mind, a memory unspooling. Concrete, heat, the smell of ozone, a sound like reality folding inward. "It wasn't an accident," Noah said slowly. "No," the man admitted. "It was a test." Noah laughed, sharp and incredulous. "You tested something on people." "We test everything on people," the man replied. "Most just never notice." The older Noah's fist struck the glass once. Hard. The vibration surged again, lights flickering. The man cursed under his breath. "He's destabilizing the chamber." "Let him out," Noah said suddenly. The man stared at him. "That's not possible." "Then explain why I'm here." Noah shot back. "If I was released, why summon me at all?" Silence stretched. Finally, the man said, "Because the event is resurfacing." Noah's blood ran cold. "That place?" "Yes." "You didn't erase it," Noah realized. "You buried it." The man nodded grimly. "And something buried too shallow has a habit of being found again." The older Noah leaned forward, forehead pressed to the glass now. His mouth moved again, more urgently. This time Noah understood. "They're lying about the test." The man straightened abruptly. "Time." The observation windows began to frost over, one by one, obscuring the figures inside. "No," Noah protested, rushing toward the glass. Wait! The older Noah's face vanished behind the haze. The man pressed a button on the desk. The main lights shut off. Emergency lighting bathed the room in dull red. We don't have much, the man said quietly. And you need to decide something. What? Noah demanded. He slid a thin device across the desk. No screen, no markings. A choice, the man said. You can leave now. We'll reinforce the suppression. You'll forget this place existed. And the event? Noah asked. The man's eyes hardened. It will happen again. Controlled. Cleaner. Noah's chest tightened. And the other option? The man exhaled slowly. You remember everything. And you go back to where it started. The building shuddered faintly, as if reacting to the words. What's there? Noah asked. The man met his gaze. The thing you helped create.
Noah didn't remember standing up, але раптом ВН уже був на ногах, дихання збиті, пальць стиснуть в кулаки. Усередині нього щось повільно прокидалося. Ні страх, ні ГНВ, а вчуття знайомств. Такі самі, як коли заходиш у кімнату, де давно не був, але точно знаєш, де що стать.
Where did it start? He asked. The man hesitated. That's not a location, he said. It's a condition. The emergency lights pulsed.
Самуэр глибоко в будвал пролунало глухие клацания. Нби массивными механизмы переходили в нший режим.
No, Noah said. You brought me here because it's a place. The man studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. It's underneath the city, or what used to be. Noah felt a pressure behind his eyes again, a memory trying to surface. You called it a structural failure, he said slowly. But structures don't rewrite witnesses. The man's jaw tightened. It wasn't meant to interact with consciousness. What was it meant to do? Predict collapse, the man replied. Social, economic, behavioral. We wanted to see failure before it happened. Noah let out a shaky laugh. So you built something that watched everything. Something that learned. The man corrected. And then it noticed observers. The words landed with terrifying clarity. It noticed me, Noah said. Yes. The room vibrated again, stronger this time. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The problem, the man continued, is that the system learned something we didn't expect. People don't just observe events. They anchor them. Memory stabilizes reality. Noah's mouth went dry. And when someone remembers something that's supposed to be erased, he whispered, it pulls the event back. The man didn't answer. That was answer enough. You didn't remove my memory because I was a witness, Noah said. You removed it because I was holding it in place. The man looked away. Some witnesses act like knots, he said quietly. No matter how much you pull, the thread won't come free. Another tremor ran through the building, violent enough that Noah had to brace himself against the desk. On the far wall, a crack split the surface from floor to ceiling. Behind it was darkness, and something else. Movement. The man's voice dropped. It's starting sooner than predicted. Noah's heart hammered. What is? The resurfacing. A new screen flickered to life on the wall, showing live footage. Tunnel. Concrete walls warped and cracked, cables dangling like exposed nerves. People in hazmat suits moved frantically through the frame. Then the image glitched. For a split second, Noah saw something impossible. The tunnel was longer than it should have been, folding inward, repeating, and in the center of the distortion stood a shape that hurt to look at. Not because it was grotesque, but because his mind couldn't agree on what it was seeing. It's not breaking out, Noah said slowly. It's being remembered. The man swallowed. We buried it deep. We erased records. We removed witnesses. But not me, Noah said. Not completely, the man admitted. Another image appeared on the screen. A group of people standing in a chamber years younger. One of them was Noah. He remembered it now. The sound wasn't an explosion. It was a pause, a moment where cause and effect stopped agreeing with each other. And then everything had gone wrong. That thing, Noah said, staring at the screen, isn't a machine. No, the man said. It's an event. The building shuddered violently. A siren began to howl for the first time. Not loud, but low and resonant, like a warning meant for something much larger than people. The others, Noah said suddenly. The ones behind the glass. They remember too, don't they? Yes, the man said. Pieces. Enough to be dangerous. Then why keep them alive? The man met his gaze. Because if they die, he said quietly, the memory collapses back into you. Noah felt cold spread through his chest. You're not containing it, he said. You're distributing it. The lights flickered wildly now. The crack in the wall widened. From the darkness beyond it came a sensation. Not a sound, not a shape, but pressure, like something immense becoming aware that it was no longer alone. Noah stepped back instinctively. You said I had a choice, he said. Yes. Leaving doesn't stop this, Noah said. It just delays it. The man nodded. And remembering? Noah asked. The man's voice was barely audible. It gives it a way back in. Noah closed his eyes, and finally, completely remembered. The memory didn't return all at once. It leaked in, slow and invasive, like water finding cracks in concrete. Noah remembered standing in the chamber beneath the city, not alone, not afraid yet. He remembered the sense of anticipation, the hum of machinery tuned to a frequency he felt in his teeth. He remembered the lead engineer saying, if it works, we'll see failure before it begins. What Noah remembered most clearly was the moment the system noticed him noticing it. It wasn't intelligence, not awareness in the human sense. It was alignment, a feedback loop snapping into place. The event hadn't been the system activating. The event had been synchronization. Noah opened his eyes. The facility around him was no longer stable. The walls bent subtly inward, angles losing their certainty. The crack in the far wall had widened into a vertical wound, darkness inside it moving like depth without distance. You can't go back down there, the man said, voice strained. The chamber is no longer passive. Noah stepped toward the darkness anyway. That's where it started, he said. And it's where it's anchoring. You don't understand what it is now, the man snapped. It's not just a model anymore. No, Noah agreed. It's a memory structure. Another violent tremor rocked the building. Somewhere behind them, glass shattered. The emergency lights flickered out completely, plunging the room into dim, shifting illumination leaking from the crack itself. The darkness pulsed. From it came a sensation, not sound, but recognition. The man grabbed Noah's arm. If you fully remember, you won't be able to let go again. Noah looked at him. That's the point. He stepped through the crack. The air on the other side felt thicker, resistant, as though reality itself objected to his presence. The space beyond was not a tunnel, not a room, but a recursion. Concrete repeating itself in impossible patterns, hallways folding back into their own beginnings. At the center of it all was the chamber, or what remained of it. The machine was no longer inert. Cables pulsed like veins. Surfaces that had once been solid now shimmered, semi-transparent, revealing layers of overlapping structures, versions of the chamber that existed simultaneously, slightly out of sync. And in the middle stood the thing they had never named. It wasn't large. It wasn't monstrous. It was dense, a convergence point where probabilities collapsed inward. A knot of causality held together by observation. And it was incomplete. Noah felt it pull at him the moment he saw it. Not physically, cognitively. Anchor, the sensation whispered without sound. Noah staggered, gripping a railing that hadn't been there a moment earlier. He understood then what the system had done wrong. It hadn't predicted collapse. It had learned how to hold it, by binding it to witnesses, by turning memory into containment. The others, the people behind the glass, weren't prisoners. They were load-bearing structures. And Noah was the keystone. "You came back!" The man's voice echoed from somewhere behind him, distorted by the warped space. "It's recognizing you." Noah stepped closer to the convergence point. With each step, more memory returned. He remembered agreeing to the final test. He remembered volunteering, because someone had to stay connected long enough to shut it down. And he remembered failing. The thing pulsed brighter as Noah approached. It wasn't hostile. It was unfinished. And it needed resolution. "I know," Noah said softly, unsure who he was speaking to. The system, the memory, or himself. "You don't want to break out." The pressure eased slightly. "You want to be completed." The chamber groaned, structures folding inward. The man shouted something Noah couldn't hear anymore. Noah reached the center and finally understood the last terrible truth. The system never needed to be destroyed. It needed to be finished. But finishing it meant choosing an ending. And endings required sacrifice. Noah closed his eyes and chose. Noah didn't scream when the convergence point opened itself to him. There was no pain in the human sense, no tearing or burning. What he felt instead was density, the weight of too many possibilities collapsing into a single moment that refused to move forward without his consent. Time stopped pretending to flow. He saw outcomes stacked on top of each other like transparent sheets. Cities standing, cities flooded, small decisions rippling outward into catastrophes or quiet nothingness. And through all of it ran the same thin thread, memory. Human memory wasn't passive. It was adhesive. The system had learned to predict collapse by modeling behavior, but it had learned to contain collapse by binding it to witnesses who could not forget. The more a person understood, the heavier they became in the structure of reality. Noah felt himself locking into place, not as a person, as a function. The thing in the center responded instantly. The pressure shifted, no longer pulling but aligning, as if relieved to finally find the missing piece. The warped chamber stabilized around him. Angles snapped back into agreement. The recursive hallways stopped folding. The system was completing itself. "Noah!" The man's voice echoed faintly, distant now. "If you do this, you won't come back." Noah smiled sadly. "I already didn't," he said. Memory flooded him completely, not just the event, but the intention behind it. The final test had never been about prediction. It had been about whether a human mind could choose an ending for something that didn't understand endings. Machines optimized. Humans concluded. That was the difference. The convergence point brightened, then softened, like a held breath finally released. The pressure eased. The sense of wrongness, the creeping pull that had haunted Noah's life, began to fade. He felt himself thinning, not dying, resolving. Above ground, the facility shook one last time, then went still. Emergency crews arrived hours later to find the underground chamber sealed by meters of fused concrete. The machine was gone. The recursive space collapsed into a single, inert cavity. No bodies were recovered. The witnesses behind the glass were found alive, confused, memories fragmented but no longer dangerous. Over time, their recollections blurred into dreams, then faded entirely. Officially, the incident was reclassified. Again, Noah Bell was listed as missing, presumed dead. Life went on. And for most people, reality felt lighter. Crises still happened. Accidents. Tragedies. But the sense of something hovering just behind events, waiting to correct them, was gone. Years later, sometimes, a person will pause in the middle of an ordinary day with the sudden certainty that something terrible almost happened. Car that didn't run a red light. A bridge that didn't fail. A decision they didn't make. They'll feel a brief pressure in their chest, like remembering something important they were never told. Then it passes. And far beneath the city, in a place no map acknowledges, a finished system remains perfectly still. holding a conclusion in place not because it must, but because someone chose to stay. And as long as that choice holds, reality does too.